Able to seal him. Here's the pass. Oh, what a catch! Leaping into the air and pulling it down is T. Higgins. Burrow facing pressure. Goes over the top. Wide open is Chase. And he splits the defenders for the touchdown. The Cincinnati Kid. Hubbard's got a convoy. Chased by Andrews. At the 30, the 20, he will score!
Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Eric. I am Jake. Mon is out protecting our community. He had to work at the fire station tonight, so he is out fighting the good fight. So we appreciate that, Mon. We miss you. We'll see you again after the Bengals-Browns game on Sunday. So Eric and I are we're steering the ship tonight. Eric, how has your week been? We talked a couple days ago, and obviously it was a rough day. So how's the last couple days been? Better?
Yeah, still feeling numb. We're not used to this, and that's a nice thing. Growing up in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, really. Our kids are used to this, but we're not really used to this constant winning. So to be out of the playoffs so early is really something you got to absorb. But been back and forth all week on should we go, should we not go. But we finally made the call. We're doing the overnight drive up to Cincy. Should be there first thing Sunday morning. There is a chance of snow. My kids are crossing their fingers for snow. So that's made the conversations all week a little bit better, knowing we get to see our Bengals out in a good fashion, and with the possibility for them to see some snow tops it all off.
Well, and a great possibility that you see them finish with a win. Eric, the Bengals are, let's see here, since let's see, where's that stat? Jay Morrison put this out here. So thank you to Jay, a friend of our show. Since 1982, Eric, our Cincinnati Bengals are 33-8 to end the season at home. 33-8. So that is a good sign. The last loss coming in 2020 to Baltimore, 38-3, and obviously these last 2 years in 21 and 22. The last Bengals home game in 21 was that big Chiefs game to win the division. The Bengals won that 34-31. And then last year, obviously, the back-to-back Baltimore slayings in that game, 27-16. The Bengals were victorious. And obviously, the following week in the wild-card round, 24-17. So very good chance, Eric, that you're going to see a W. We're going to talk about that Bengals-Browns game. Again, it's going to be kind of hard to prep for this game, Eric, because sorry, I'm a little under the weather, but Jeff Driskel will be taking the helm for the Cleveland Browns. So, an athletic guy who we all know as Bengal fans, he showed signs of glimmer when he was a Bengal in the preseason, but again, very good chance that you're going up to see snow and a Bengals victory. And two, Eric, I think it's important for the Bengals to finish with a win, right? I mean, 9-8, that'd be 3 consecutive seasons with a winning record. I know it's, again, not what we wanted, but 3 years in a row with a winning record it's solid.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of people say now you pack it in, you go get that higher draft pick, but it's something just for the team. These guys most of them have not had a losing season. They're winners. They want to go out there and win. And some of the locker information that's come out via some of the local media is that Jamar Chase is playing. He set the tone. He came and said, "No way, I'm not playing in this game. We're going out there to win." So To me, right now, we could draft anywhere from 13th to 18th.
Right.
It's not a big talent difference there. 13, you have the possibility to get one of those players that maybe falls because it's a run on quarterbacks or a run on another player. But I just I want him to go out with a win. I can't remember the exact stat, but if we win, then everybody in the AFC North has a winning division or winning record. That hasn't been done in a long, long time, and it really
Right.
solidifies some of the conversation that you and Mon have had for a while, that the AFC North is the division. And as much as uh, we hate it, the Ravens are a great team. The Browns are so packed full of defensive talent, and the Steelers just know how to win. So, you know, last place in the division, but everybody has a winning record. That's impressive.
It is. It is. And I mean, again, when we talk about this division, it is the really, I mean, I think you could very much argue it's the best division in football, right? Um, like you said, it is a division where I can't remember who I saw said something about it could be the first time ever that all four teams from a division since the division switch, the first time that every team has a winning record. I think this could be a first. And again, the AFC North, we've talked about it many times on this show. It's a dominating division, and it's a division that has ended some team seasons this year and really taken the soul out of a lot of teams as well. It's a good division.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we want everybody else to be trash, but unfortunately, it's built to fight it out every year. No matter what, we see that schedule come out. We know that we have these division games every year, so our strength of schedule is always going to be tough, and we're at a time where there's been a lot of really good roster building, and now we got to fight it out. So, is what it is.
Well, tonight, again, thank you for everybody for jumping on live with us. We are going to take some questions tonight. We're going to talk a little Bengals Browns action, and again, try to get some of your opinions on maybe what happened, right? What happened with this season, and where did things go wrong? I mean, this is a season, and again, I know the easy answer is going to be Joe Burrow's injury, but that's really not where things went wrong. I mean, we've talked about on this show the deficiency of the defense and how much the defense has struggled all year long. Obviously, Joe Burrow doesn't play defense. So there are a lot of other deficiencies going on. The trenches, we talked about that in the last show. That has been an absolute struggle as well. And really too, Eric, would you put the coaching up there? I mean, I would put the coaching up there too. I think the coaching has regressed a little bit. Um, you know, I don't remember who put it out there. I think Mon reminded us of it today, and really, I've thought about this, but it really hasn't hit me. But when you look at the three the three starters that we lost, Samaje Perine is not a guy that we're really going to throw in that mix. But when you look at Hayden Hurst, when you look at Jesse Bates, and when you look at Von Bell, and you look at who we replaced them with, Irv Smith, who has been a healthy scratch. I mean, he's been non-existent in this offense. Drew Sample has played a ton more snaps than Irv Smith. And he, like I said, he's been a healthy scratch. Dax Hill has had a struggle, that's to say the least. And obviously, Jordan Battle is a rookie.
Yeah.
So when you look at those three losses and how impactful they have been, especially on the defensive side of the ball, it's really not hard to figure out where the issues are, right?
Yeah, and so okay, that's a defense is a glaring issue, and we lost our two starting safeties, and that was huge. Um, and Mon has pointed this out quite a bit, so some of this might be his thoughts, but it's not the talent that we lost. It is the communication. Jesse Bates has so much experience. Von Bell brought so much experience, and Cam Taylor-Britt alluded to it just in one of his conversations. That time that he got beat over the top, whether he missed the communication, somebody else missed the communication. Cam thought he had help over the top, and that's what it looked like. And so there was, whether it was Cam's fault or the safety's fault, it doesn't matter. There was not that communication that you get with veterans that have been out there for years. You've got 2 veterans that have been out there for 5, 6+ years. I don't care how many rookies you have out there. Those 2 veterans are going to keep everything to go way it's supposed to go. So you can lose one of those guys. You lose 2 of them. Now you don't have that communication bond that the team needs. So can Dax and Jordan, can they build on that? Hopefully. To the first point, to me, this season is all on coaching, because we saw a cascading of events where the coaching had opportunities to make better decisions, and in my opinion, they didn't. Joe Burrow goes down to training camp. We refused to change the offense for Jake Browning. We had 2 months to give a Jake Browning offense and let him go into Cleveland in week 1 and go. We lost week 1 anyway. They could have said, Joe, you're not playing week 1. They could have spent those 2 months to building an offense for Jake Browning and gone out there and rolled with it. Didn't do it. Joe comes back, re-aggravates things, struggles, whatever it might be. Joe eventually goes down, and they don't immediately change the offense. They just, in a lot of the times where they had an opportunity to make a decision, it felt like we're a little bit smarter than everybody else. We don't need to do it. Our system is so good that anybody can run it. And I think that was a failure.
Yeah, I do too. And, I'll, yes, this show is for you. This show is for all of us who complain about this all the time. That's a great comment. And Mon talked about this. I'm going to give Mon credit. He talked about this even in the beginning of the season, is going out and getting a defensive tackle in free agency. I know Zim had talked about it too. I mean, the Bengals basically threw their cards in on Zach Carter, Josh Tupou, right? 2 guys that, they're solid interior guys that you can put in a rotation. But, Jay Tuafeli is another one that they kind of threw in the mix. Cam Sample, obviously, they kind of move him around. He goes inside, outside. But the Bengals really threw their cards in on those guys, and none of those guys have panned out, including Joseph Asai, who we really haven't seen at all. I mean, he's been non-existent. He's been on the bench with Irv Smith. I don't know what those 2 guys are doing, but, I guess you can throw Chris Evans in the mix too, but those guys, they're non-existent on this roster. And Joseph Asai was a guy that we were all thinking, man, this is a guy that's going to be a big-time player for the Cincinnati Bengals this year, especially after the way his season ended on that penalty against the Chiefs. He talked about how motivated he was, and I was like, man, this guy's going to come out with 10 or 12 sacks, and he's been non-existent. I mean, this defensive line has been atrocious. They have been awful. Eric, I don't know if you remember, I texted this in the group chat earlier this week. We played 4 of the worst offenses in the NFL this year. Pittsburgh twice, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Tennessee Titans. Those are 4 of the bottom offenses in the NFL. And when I say bottom, I mean bottom 10, the worst offenses in the NFL. Yeah. Against those 4 teams, Eric, the Bengals gave up 1,600 yards. 1,600 yards against the 4 of the worst offenses in the NFL. Mm-hmm. That is the issue. That is the issue. When you see a guy like Jake Browning come in, a backup quarterback, listen, you can win with back. The Cleveland Browns are winning with Joe Flacco, and he was sitting on his couch 3 weeks ago. but their defense has helped carry that football team. That's what you have to do. That's how you have to play football. When CJ Stroud went down, again, the Texans, they kind of pulled their stuff together on defense, and that they're right in the mix. The Indianapolis Colts, the same exact thing. Their quarterback goes down early. They're in the playoff hunt with Gardner Minshew because defenses have to play that much better when you're playing with a backup quarterback, and we have not seen it with the Cincinnati Bengals.
And so one of the things, this is just kind of, as we're talking this through, when you go against a struggling offense, what you don't want to do is you don't want to let them get in a rhythm. You don't want Pickens to get a catch and to get into the game, to get their head in the game. Well, our whole defensive structure is bend, don't break, which means they're completing those passes over the middle. They're getting in a rhythm. They're getting that confidence. So you're allowing them to build up all that confidence. And next thing you know, struggling offense is back on track because of the Bengals. We need the dudes up front. We need to just go after them. And I know we probably don't have all the right pieces for that, but there's something to say that just go and be aggressive and blitz and make them make bad choices. But all year long, it was bend, don't break. And we bent and bent and bent until, eventually you're going to break. You can only twist a pretzel so much and it snaps. So it's frustrating.
Listen to this too. Jay Morrison tweeted this out, and we obviously love Jay and all the information. He's got such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to these crazy stats, stuff that I love. Listen to this. This is how bad our pass rush is. Okay. Trey Hendrickson, which we're going to talk about milestones in a little bit. Trey Hendrickson right now is tied for the most sacks in the NFL, right? And very well could win that, which is a great milestone to win. It would be great for the Cincinnati Bengals to have the #1 sack leader. And it's crazy. He's not even being talked about for Defensive Player of the Year, which is absolutely just mind-blowing to me. But listen to this, Eric. Listen how bad the Bengals pass rush is, okay? So you have Trey Hendrickson at 17 sacks. Trey Hendrickson at 17, tied for the NFL lead in sacks. Guess who the next closest Bengal is in sacks?
So Miles Murphy?
No.
I can't see other people getting sacks. PJ.
It's Sam Hubbard. And guess how many sacks Sam Hubbard has?
I honestly can't remember that many, so you're going to have to tell me, because it's been, to me, I feel like Sam Hubbard hasn't been there this year.
Sam Hubbard has 5 sacks, Eric. So when you look at Trey Hendrickson at the top of the food chain on this Bengals defensive line and the pass rushing ability that we get from him, and you look at Sam Hubbard at 5, that's a difference of 12 sacks.
Yeah.
The Bengals haven't had that, Eric, since 1976. The year I was born, with Coy Bacon had 22 sacks and Gary Burley had 10. So a difference of 12 sacks from your top guy to your next guy. Eric, that is how piss poor the pass rush is for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Well, and you look.
Go ahead.
Look back to our success seasons, our AFC Championship win and our AFC Championship performance. What did we have? We had a lot of Sam Hubbard. We had a lot of that cleanup. And I know he was injured for some of the year. We don't want to put it all on Sam Hubbard, but yeah, you can't. You need more than one guy. And Mon always credits the Browns so much because they always have those pass rushers. And it seems like even when somebody goes down, there's somebody next man up, and we need that depth.
Well, and Mon just commented on that. I don't know if you saw it, but he said we miss Larry O. Mon loves Larry Ogunjobi, and he's right. I mean, that year, I think Larry O, Mon, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Larry O and BJ Hill combined for like 12 or 14 sacks or something like that when we had Larry O. And that interior pass rush is just non-existent. It's non-existent. And again, 14 and a half. Mon said 14 and a half between Larry O and BJ Hill. That's huge, Eric. When you're getting that from the interior of the defensive line, you want to know why we give up so many big explosive plays? Because there's no pass rush. Because our DBs are having to cover for 4 or 5 seconds, and you can't ask those guys to do that in the NFL.
It's not just the no. We've got a pass rush, but there's no interior pass rush. So the quarterback just steps up and throws it deep, and you need that middle guy just to push him right back to the quarterback, so his center's standing on him. And we haven't had that. And that's my biggest thing that we need. And we'll talk many times in the off season. We have to get that. And yes, we might be able to re-sign DJ Reader. Unfortunately, his injury might change his market somewhat, but he's not. He's our run defender. We need that interior push, that interior pass rush. It's just.
We're definitely we have a lot to talk about this off season, right? Because as Mon always says, this is going to be one of the most important off seasons in franchise history. And I agree with Mon, and I hate agreeing with Mon, but I agree with Mon. He is 100% right, because this team, there's still a great window with this team. There's a great roster on this team right now. This is a tweet that Mon sent out. By the way, guys, just in case you didn't know, Mon Abelhassan from right here on the Bengals Pulse, he is a Twitter god. He is undefeated on Twitter. He lets Eric and I and everyone know that he is undefeated. He's never lost a Twitter battle. He is, what does he say, like 7,851 and 0. Mon on Twitter.
Mon, give us your stats. We'll put them up.
But so Mon wants to know, guys, and throw your questions in here. We'll try to get to as many. Oh, sorry, Mon. He's 1,823 and 0.
He's counted. Yeah, he's counted.
He's counted. He's got it marked off on a board in his.
He puts an X for every victory. That's why they renamed it X.
Oh, I tell you what, God bless Heather. God bless his wife, Heather. She's an incredible woman. So Mon threw this up on Twitter. It's a great tweet. I absolutely love it. I know I want to hear from you guys out there. Throw your comments on, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. Mon wants to know, Bengal fans, give us your top 3 reason the Bengals have struggled in 2023. Mon's top 3: lack of complementary football, defensive line depth, and the O-line regression. Eric, those are his top 3. And obviously, I mean, it's hard not to disagree with any of those, right? Those are good ones. Eric, do you have any to add to that list?
I think the intent here is outside of Joe Burrow's injury. I mean, if we don't say that, obviously it's Joe Burrow's injury, because as Joe Burrow goes, we go. My number one is.
So you're saying then, instead of saying Joe Burrow's injury, let's say quarterback play, right?
Yeah. I'm saying we're where we're at because Joe Burrow's injured. We need to win one more game. Joe Burrow would.
I'm saying because of obviously the big loss from having an elite talent like Joe Burrow to a guy that just started his first game 6 weeks ago.
I mean, that gets that Joe Burrow gets you 3 more wins easily. A healthy Joe Burrow gets you 3 more wins easily. And then everything else is out the window. We're in the playoffs. But if Joe Burrow aside, very in line with Mon's thinking, but I'm just coaching flexibility, being able to change on the fly is my number one. And then it is defense, not defensive line. I mean, we're constantly taking a swings at defensive ends, but it's that interior defensive line. And I don't say O-line regression. I put that on run blocking schemes. I'm putting that on Frank Pollock. I'm sorry. He can Yep. I know he watches the Pulse, so he can take that up with me on Sunday. But it's that you get what you blocked and no more. There's nothing, it's just not there. There's no holes to run through. And if you say you've got the guys, then you're saying your scheme is not very good. So that's where I'm at. What do you got?
I'm going to put up there coaching. I feel like, and again, I'm a coach myself, so I'm always going to take full accountability for anything that happens with my program. But I feel like we've had a coaching regression, and I think it's something that we have seen building up, right? I mean, this is not something that is new by any means. There's been some questionable stuff being done the last couple of years, but Joe Burrow can hide a lot of your deficiencies, right? And I think coaching wise, when you don't have the talent like Jesse Bates and Von Bell, when you don't have those guys on there on your roster, then you have to coach through that, right? There's some really good ones. Our buddy Martin here, letting Bell leave, which we just talked about. Bates too, obviously, as well. The inability to convert short yardage situations. That's a great one, Martin. I mean, that's something that this Bengal team has struggled with, right? Especially in the red zone. We talked about this last week after the Chiefs game. Is Coach Taylor's ability in situational football? It's just not very good. And I don't want to sit here and just blame Coach Taylor, but the play calling, especially in the short yardage situations, has just not been good. It's just not good. It's not creative. It's line up and jumbo and try to run in a full box. I mean, these guys are the best players in the world. You're not going to be able to get away with that, unless you're the Philadelphia Eagles and you have the Philly push or whatever that stupid play is.
Jamie's got a good comment here too, because we lost our two safeties and we sunk money into the linebackers. Wilson and Pratt did not have a phenomenal year that they should have. And when you lose your two safeties,
Jamie,
you need these guys that you paid to step up. And they had some flashes, but we needed them to be phenomenal, and they were good. There were times where they were not good.
Well, and part of that too, Eric, and I talked about this last episode, is part of that too goes with the defensive line play, right? I mean, playing linebacker and having the ability to come downhill and be in your run fits without having a guard or a tackle in your face, that makes the world a difference. So when your defensive line play is deficient, your linebacker play is going to be deficient as well. These great linebackers that have in histories past in the NFL, they all had great defensive lines. You know what I mean? So yes, the linebacker play has been deficient and what we're not used to, but a lot of that's because the defensive line has just been really poor. Game On says the inability to cover deep, 100% correct. The inability to stop the run, 100% correct. And to sustain offensive success. Those are great ones, Game On. So those are some other good ones. I mean, I think we obviously can there's just so many issues, right? I think that's what the point of this is there's so many issues with this team, and there really shouldn't be. I mean, guys, this roster is still really good. It really is good. And these coaches, as much as we bag on them, they've led us to 2 AFC championships. So again, Joe Burrow is a big part of that. I understand that. But let's not forget the defense played really well the last 2 years. And the defensive play is one of the main reasons why in 2 AFC championships, Eric.
So my biggest thing on Game On's comment here is inability to cover deep consistently. Well, you know what fixes that, and what, or maybe not fixes that, but what covers that up? Strong defensive pass rush from your interior linemen. Because you know what happens? They're getting pushed up front. Now the quarterback can't step into his throw. His throw is not going to be able to go as deep. He's not going to have as much time. We have great pass rush from our defensive ends, but we need to collapse that pocket back into a lap. So this doesn't mean we have to go replace our safeties. We don't have to go replace our corners. We get a stud defensive tackle, maybe two, and that pocket is collapsing in on him. Now they can't step into that throw, and that throw doesn't make it 60 yards. It falls up short, and your cornerback intercepts it. So there are ways to vastly improve this team without going and changing all the players or those people making a lot of jumps. You just need some really good guys up front, and it makes everybody else look good.
Vizela said, have you ever seen our receivers, do any kind of a pick play? We've seen it, but it's been very rare, Eric. Again, I think
you get called for pass interference on it.
Yeah, most of the time we do, right? I think, again, as I go back and I really want to harp on the creativity of this offense, right? Again, the talent on this offense, guys, you can say what you want to about Joe Mixon and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and some of these other guys. Let me tell you something. 95% of the NFL would take our offensive roster. 95% of the NFL would take our offensive roster, even without Joe Burrow. But the creativity, there's so much a lack of creativity with this offense that's what I think has got to get better. It is our coach is going out and putting together game plans that, where we see a little bit more under center, some more play action, some more power run, right? We don't see any power run. We see all this zone, inside, outside zone. We don't see any power run. We see a little bit here and there, some belly stuff, but nothing where, we're lining up and just smacking you in the mouth. And I'm not talking about on 4th and 2 and on the 5-yard line. That's when people are I'm talking about in between the 20s, right? Where you just line up and smash mouth football and run the ball down somebody's throat. Just the creativity of this offense, the misdirections, the motions, all those other things. There's so much a lack of it. And I really hope that Coach Taylor figures things out. And listen, I'm a huge Coach Taylor fan. I think Coach Taylor needs to be the head coach of this football team. I want him to be the head coach of this football team. But play calling, I don't know. It's very suspect, Eric.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about kind of big picture stuff. We got the final game of the season coming up. Let's talk about what do you want to see on Sunday? There's, obviously a lot of us want to see the Bengals go out and win, but there are, in my opinion, questions that I would like to see answered. We got one game to answer them. We should try and answer some of them before we get to next training camp of preseason. I think the one thing we can all agree on is we found our backup quarterback. We asked this preseason is either one of these quarterbacks a guy to come in and win 3 or 4 games when Joe Burrow is down? The answer is yes. So I think we've answered that question, but what questions do you want to see answered out there on Sunday?
Well, let me say this. I do want to see a couple of those milestones met. Jamar Chase is 4 catches away from 100. I would love to see Jamar Chase. I'd love to see Jamar Chase get 100 catches. I think that goes a long way in the locker room. I love to see Joe Mixon get his 1,000 yards, right? He's 77 away. Yeah. Again, Joe Mixon has, say what you want to. I'm a Joe Mixon lover. I love him. I love Joe Mixon. I think he's a stud, and I think he should be the starting running back next year. Follow up on that. One of my keys is I want to see if Chase Brown can be a featured back. So, do you think Joe Mixon gets his yards, or are they gonna go out there and experiment with Chase Brown? Well, I don't know if you saw Coach Taylor's presser, but Oh wait, Mon just messaged us. Joe Mixon made the Pro Bowl.
Wow.
Bengal Pro Bowl.
Breaking news. Good job, Mon.
So Mon, if you could give us what other Bengals made the Pro Bowl, but Joe Mixon is a Pro Bowler. Eric, Coach Taylor said very plainly, we're going to win this football game. We're trying to win this football game. So that tells me no. That tells me Joe Mixon's going to touch the ball 20 times. And Joe Mixon's going to get his 1,000 yards. I do believe he's going to get his 1,000 yards. I know this Browns defense is good, but they are going to be not playing a lot of players, I think, starter wise on the defensive side of the ball.
Do you know if Myles Garrett's playing?
I don't know. I didn't see that. Mon also said Trey Hendrickson and Jamar Chase both made the Pro Bowl as starters. Oh, Mixon is a first alternate. Trey and Jamar are starters. So there's but yes, I think the Browns are going to sit. I think the Browns are going to sit a bunch of players. I cannot. Overzealous said, "Consider me a Mixon hater." Yes, I see that, Overzealous. I can't imagine that they are going to play Myles Garrett. Can you imagine if they did and something happened to him? God forbid. I mean, that would be an atrocity.
This is a good point here too, because the Ravens play on Saturday, so the Browns might have absolutely no ability to move up, move down, or around. So
yeah. So let's get back, because I love your question. Joe Mixon, I want to see 1,000. Jamar, I want to see 100. I want to see Trey Henderson win the sack leader. And then I agree with you. I do want to see a little bit more Chase Brown. I want to see what we have coming back next year. I want to see what we have coming back. I want to see more from Jake Browning. I want to see. I'm going to be honest with you. I want to see more from Yoshi, and I want to see more from Chuck Sizzle. I mean, that's a guy that, we really have not. We haven't seen a lot from him, right? I'm talking about Charlie Jones, guys. We haven't seen a lot from Charlie Jones. Mon just put on there, Orlando Brown is an alternate as well. Go ahead, Eric. What were you going to say?
Well, and it really feels like we haven't seen Chuck Sizzle since he returned that punt for a touchdown. Eric, he broke his thumb, and we've seen Charlie Jones.
That's been the only play Charlie Jones has made all year. I mean, I'm just being real. That's the only splash play, and he was a guy that the Bengals went out and got pretty early on, where you consider where they got him. They drafted him before Yoshi. He was a guy that they went out and got to be this explosive playmaker for us, and he's only made one play all year. I mean, again, he had his chance in that Steeler game a couple weeks ago, right? Was that the Viking game? That was the Viking game.
The Viking game, yeah.
The Viking game where he pulled up on that deep ball, and I just haven't seen a lot from Charlie Jones. I want to see more from Chuck Sizzle. And I want to see more from Yoshi. I think Yoshi's going to be a great player for us. But yeah, some of those younger guys, I mean, those are the kind. Myles Murphy has really played well, Eric. And I would love to see Myles Murphy finish off strong, because he's obviously a guy that we're going to really need next year, especially if Joseph Aside is not, if Joseph Aside is not going to be on this roster, which I can't imagine he is. We need to see some more from him as well. So I would love to see that. But more than anything, Eric, I want to see this Bengal team go out and play hard. And, if the Browns are sitting everybody, then go out and beat them by 30 points. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I mean, go out and dominate them. I think that's the biggest thing to me, is just, when a team does that, and a lot of teams have done that against us, and we've done that a lot against other teams, and and it's usually a lopsided thing. That's what I want to see. I want to see this Bengals team. Jamar Chase said it. I'm playing. Jamar Chase wants to win this game. Everybody in that locker room wants to win this game because they hate the Cleveland Browns. Well, then go out and win it and dominate it. And let's finish the season off. I don't care about draft picks. I don't care about having the 18th pick or the 16th pick. That means absolutely zero to me. Zero. Again, that's probably a lot from me as a coach, because as a coach, you want to win, and all you care about is momentum, stacking wins and getting momentum. I don't care about draft picks. I just don't. And to be honest, Eric, I don't mean to cut you off, but to be honest with you, we suck at drafting in the first round anyways, for the most part. I mean, Joe Burrow was a home run, but that was pretty much a layup. Jamar Chase was a home run. That was pretty much a layup. Besides that, Eric, I mean, first rounders, you guys really care that much about a couple draft in the draft order where, you know, we're going to have a guy that sits on the bench for half the year? I mean,
yeah, but just to think, not to go down that rabbit hole, but Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, who's the last first rounder that we really, was a superstar we hit on? AJ Green? I mean, I can't think of anybody between AJ Green and Joe Burrow.
That's because there isn't anybody, Eric. There isn't anybody. I mean, this Bengal team, and they try to go out and draft defensive linemen. They try to go out and draft offensive linemen. I mean, they try to go out and draft corners, and I mean, you're just not seeing those type of impactful players. And Mon just put it in the message board. The 2021 draft, it was brutal.
It was brutal. Yeah,
it was brutal for this Bengals roster. Brutal. I agree with you, CC. Trey should be an All-Pro, and if he's not an All-Pro, there's something wrong with this. There's something wrong with the system if Trey is not an All-Pro. I'm just saying that now. I don't care. I don't care what anyone says. You can argue me till you're blue in the face. If Trey is not an All-Pro, there's something wrong with the system, and they need to just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eric. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say we might want to revamp our strategy. We were awesome at drafting in the second round. Maybe we need to start trading that first round pick for 2 second-round picks every year.
Oh my God, we're awesome. We're awesome. And overzealous, I agree with you. Our coaches, we talked about this last week. Our coaches struggle developing these players. They do. I mean, when you look at our roster, the majority of the people, especially in the trenches, I mean, Sam Hubbard is the only guy that we drafted on that defensive line that starts, right? Logan Wilson we drafted. Jermaine Pratt we drafted. So the 2 linebackers we drafted. Look at corner. Cheeto, free agent. Mike Hilton, free agent, right? Cam Taylor-Britt we drafted. The safeties we drafted, but oh man, that's a struggle. Offensive line, Eric, Volson, and Jonah Williams. And Jonah Williams is average. Volson is
and Jonah Williams came in as the top rated tackle that year. So I don't think it's not just we can't develop anyone, it's a lack of self-awareness. They have difficulties developing talent, but they think they're good at it, so they keep taking on projects. Dump the projects, grab the best available player, and get the guy with the highest ceiling, not the guy that has the most room to grow. No, give me the guy with the highest ceiling, not the guy that just learned football and you can teach him everything. Just
James is asking Mon if Chris Evans will get a chance to play this week. I don't know what Mon thinks. I'm going to say no. I don't think he is. I think Chris Evans is done as a Bengal. I don't think he is going to.
So I have a point on that, Jake.
CC did say CC said Zeitler. Zeitler was a good pick. And obviously, but look at the second round picks, Eric. You're right. The Bengals, once we get to the second round, we're good. T. Higgins. Joe Mixon, Andrew Whitworth. I mean, those are incredible second-round picks. It's that first round that the Bengals just, man, they struggle. God, they struggle.
Yeah. To James's point, one of the things, and Chris Evans is this, but that is one glimmer of hope that I've seen is the Bengals are starting to give up on guys that they should have gave up on sooner. I mean, we don't know what's going on with Iosivas, but they gave up on him. He has not been out there this year, even when he was healthy. They gave up on Irv Smith. Irv Smith is they acknowledge that he's not the guy for them, and he hasn't played much. And Chris Evans, so they have changed somewhat, in my opinion, because in the past they would keep throwing those guys out there saying that they were the best out there. We are running towards our end of our show here, so we probably need to get into
let's get to our picks then. Thank you guys all for participating in our comments. Let's get on. I know we didn't talk a lot Browns Bengals, but again, what is there to talk about Jeff Driskel and the Browns backups playing? I mean, I don't, if I wish this game mattered. Obviously, it doesn't for them. But let's talk about Steelers Ravens. You have Mon's picks, right? So Steelers at Ravens. The Ravens are sitting everybody. Do the Steelers win and get in?
What is Mon has the Steelers winning 14-9.
I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna say the Steelers lose 14-10, and they do not get in. They do not make the playoffs.
So I'm going to throw my hat into this because they can't sit everybody. And unfortunately, this pains me to say it, but Ravens are probably the deepest team in the league right now. Unfortunately, they've done a great job at that. And I think the Ravens backups can take it to the Steelers. That's why it hurts so much that the Steelers did what they did to us, because they are not in the same league as the Ravens. So I think the Ravens, even with their backups, take the Steelers out 24-5.
Wow, you're throwing the never seen safety.
Oh no, I'm going to say maybe they pick off a 2-point conversion and return it. That's even more out there.
I think that's even more. I don't think that's even less of a possibility. And again, like you said, you can't sit everybody. And this Steeler team is just not very good. Okay, so let's go. Browns at Bengals. What does Mon got?
He's got the Bengals winning 17-10.
17-10, Bengals win. I'm going to go the over, and I'm going to say the Bengals win 24-10. What do you think, Eric? Bengals Browns.
Oh, I definitely think we're winning this game. I don't know what the score is, but I'm hoping that it is Fan Appreciation Day, so they are going to be doing some cool stuff for the fans. I'm hoping that people that have Bengals tickets didn't sell them to Browns fans. I'm hoping that everybody shows up in the orange and black and really cheers us on. We're going to do our part. I think that being home, I think that it's really going to play into it. I could see us scoring 31-18.
31-18. So you're going to take the over. Mon wants to change his pick to the Bengals win 5-2. Listen, Mon text this out to us. Remember Mon had just talked about that 2021 draft debacle for the Bengals. Listen to this real quick, and then I know we got to go, but listen to this. In 2021, Eric, the Bengals drafted 7 offensive and defensive linemen in 2021. Listen to the list of offensive, defensive linemen the Bengals drafted in 2021. Jackson Carman, Joseph Asai, Cam Sample, Tyler Shelvin, Deontay Smith, Trey Hill, and Hubert. That's how brutal the 2021 draft was. After T. Higgins, it absolutely went into the tank. I mean, obviously, it's hard to say that otherwise, but that wasn't T. Higgins. That was
Jamar's. Yeah.
After Jamar Chase in the first round, Eric, Carmen, Osai, Sample, Shelvin, Smith, Hill, and Huber.
And I think we could have gotten Carmen in the 3rd or 4th, couldn't we? There was the big thing as we reached for Carmen.
I mean, that's horrible. All right, guys. Once again,
go ahead, that ruined us. Sorry.
I mean, again, you think about where did we go wrong, and
that was it.
Duke Tobin does a great job, but man, oh man, that's brutal. All right, guys, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on all the podcast platforms, Apple, Stitcher, and Spotify. If you like this podcast, make sure you give us that 5-star review. We'd very much appreciate that. As always, follow Mon on Twitter at TheFireMon. Follow me on Twitter at CoachJakeOwens9. Follow Eric on Twitter at eFlash with 2 H's 88. Follow the Wincinnati Podcast Network on Twitter, at Wincinnati Pod. And as always, follow the Bengals Pulse on Twitter, guys, at Bengals_Pulse9. On Instagram, the same without the at, Bengals_Pulse9. And as always, check out all the awesome podcasts right here on the Wincinnati Podcast Network. He is Eric. I am Jake. Mon, we love you, buddy. We'll see you on Sunday after the Bengal game. Eric, have a safe trip up to the Natty. Bring us home that W. This is the Bengals Pulse, guys. Hoo day, Bengal fans. We'll see you on Sunday.
Hoo day. See you Sunday.